Before you read this book. A question. A cereal bowl gets thrown across the kitchen, splattering milk and Cheerios all over the wall. The dog runs in from the backyard and has inexplicably been painted blue. One of your kids threatens a younger sibling. You get a call from the principal's OCE for the third time this month. What do you do? Before you answer, we want to ask you to completely forget about everything you know about discipline. Forget what you think the word means, and forget what you've heard about how parents should respond when kids do something they're not supposed to. Instead, ask yourself a question: are you open to at least thinking about a different approach to discipline? One that helps you achieve your immediate goals of getting your kids to do the right thing in the moment, as well as your longer-range goals of helping them become good people who are happy, successful, kind, responsible, and even self-disciplined? If so, this book is for you. Why? Introduction. Relational, low-drama discipline, encouraging cooperation while building a child's brain. Oh, you are not alone. If you feel at a loss when it comes to getting your kids to argue less or speak more respectfully, if you can't figure out how to keep your toddler from climbing up to the top bunk, or get him to put on clothes before answering the front door, if you feel frustrated having to utter the same phrase over and over again, hurry. You're going to be late for school, or to engage in another battle over bedtime or homework or screen time. If you've experienced any of these frustrations, you are not alone. In fact, you're not even unusual. You know what you are? A parent. A human being, and a parent. It's hard to figure out how to discipline our kids. It just is. All too often it goes like this: they do something they shouldn't do. We get mad. They get upset. Tears out. Sometimes the tears belong to the kids. It's exhausting. It's infuriating. All the drama, the yelling, the hurt feelings, the guilt, the heartache, the disconnection. Do you ever end yourself asking, after an especially agonizing interaction with your kids, can't I do better than this? Can't I handle myself better, and be a more effective parent? Can't I discipline in ways that calm the situation rather than create more chaos? You want the bad behavior to stop, but you want to respond in a way that values and enhances your relationship with your children. You want to build your relationship, not damage it. You want to create less drama, not more. You can. In fact, that's the central message of this book: you really can discipline in a way that's full of respect and nurturing, but that also maintains clear and consistent boundaries. In other words, you can do better. You can discipline in a way that's high on relationship, high on respect, and low on drama and con-ICT, and in the process, you can foster development that builds good relationship skills and improves your children's ability to make good decisions, think about others, and act in ways that prepare them for lifelong success and happiness. We've talked to thousands and thousands of parents all over the world, teaching them basics about the brain and how it affects their relationship with their kids. And we've seen how hungry parents are to learn to address children's behavior in ways that are more respectful and more effective. Parents are tired of yelling so much, tired of seeing their kids get so upset, tired of their children continuing to misbehave. These parents know the kind of discipline they don't want to use, but they don't know what to do instead. They want to discipline in a kind and loving way, but they feel exhausted and overwhelmed when it comes to actually getting their kids to do what they're supposed to do. They want discipline that works and that they feel good about. In this book, we'll introduce you to what we call a no-drama, whole-brain approach to discipline, OERing principles and strategies that will remove most of the drama and high emotions that so typically characterize discipline. As a result, your life as a parent will be easier and your parenting will become more effective. More important, you'll create connections in your children's brains that build emotional and social skills that will serve them now and throughout their entire life, all while strengthening your relationship with them. What we hope you'll discover is that the moments when discipline is called for are actually some of the most important moments of parenting, times when we have the opportunity to shape our children most powerfully. When these challenges arise, and you'll be able to look at them not merely as dreaded discipline situations full of anger and frustration and drama, but as opportunities to connect with your children and redirect them toward behavior that better serves them and your whole family. If you are an educator, therapist, or coach who is also responsible for the growth and well-being of children, you will see that these techniques work just as well for your students, patients, and clients, or teams. Recent discoveries about the brain give us deep insights into the children we care for, what they need, and how to discipline them in ways that foster optimal development. We've written this book for anyone who cares for a child and is interested in loving, scientifically informed, effective strategies to help children grow well. We'll use the word parent throughout the book, but if you're a grandparent, a teacher, or some other significant person in the life of a child, this book is also for you. Our lives are more meaningful with collaboration, and this joining together can begin with the many adults who cooperate in the nurturing of a child in the earliest days of life onward. We hope all children have many caregivers in their lives who are intentional about how they interact with them and, when necessary, discipline them in ways that build skills and enhance their relationship. Reclaiming the word discipline. Let's begin with the actual goal of discipline. When your child misbehaves, what do you want to accomplish? Are consequences your ultimate goal? In other words, is the objective to punish? Of course not. When we're angry, we may feel like we want to punish our child. Irritation, impatience, frustration, or just being unsure can make us feel that. It's totally understandable, even common. But once we've calmed down and cleaned the raw egg out of everyone's hair, we know that giving consequences is not our ultimate goal. So what do we want? What is the goal of discipline? Well, let's start with a formal definition. The word discipline comes directly from the Latin word disciplina, which was used as far back as the 11th century to mean teaching, learning, and giving instruction. So, from its inception in the English language, discipline has meant to teach. These days, most people associate only punishment or consequences with the practice of discipline. It's like the mother with the 18-month-old son who asked Dan, "I'm doing a lot of teaching with Sam, but when do I start disciplining him?" The mother saw that she needed to address her son's behaviors, and she assumed that punishment is what discipline is meant to be. As you read the rest of this book, we want you to keep in mind what Dan explained, that whenever we discipline our kids, our overall goal is not to punish or to give a consequence, but to teach. The root of discipline is the word disciple, which means student, pupil, and learner. A disciple, the one receiving discipline, is not a prisoner or recipient of punishment, but one who is learning through instruction. Punishment might shut down a behavior in the short term, but teaching OERs skills that last a lifetime. We thought a lot about whether we even wanted to use the word discipline in our title. We weren't sure what to call this practice of setting limits while still being emotionally attuned to our children, this approach that centers on teaching and working with our kids to help them build the skills to make good choices. We decided that we want to reclaim the word discipline, along with its original meaning. We want to completely reframe the whole discussion and differentiate discipline from punishment. Essentially, we want caregivers to begin to think of discipline as one of the most loving and nurturing things we can do for kids. Our children need to learn skills like inhibiting impulses, managing big angry feelings, and considering the impact of their behavior on others. Learning these essentials of life and relationships is what they need, and if you can provide it for them, you'll be offering a significant gift not only to your children, but to your whole family and even the rest of the world. Seriously. This is not mere hyperbole. No drama. Discipline, as we'll describe it in the coming pages, will help your kids become the people they are meant to be, improving their ability to control themselves, respect others, participate in deep relationships, and live moral and ethical lives. Just think, then, about the generational impact that will have as they grow up with these gifts and abilities, and raise children of their own, who can then pass on these same gifts to future generations. It begins with rethinking what discipline really means, reclaiming it as a term that's not about punishment or control, but about teaching and skill building, and doing so from a place of love, respect, and emotional connection. The dual goals of no drama discipline. E-active discipline aims for two primary goals. The RST is obviously to get our kids to cooperate and do the right thing. In the heat of the moment, when our child is throwing a toy in a restaurant or being rude or refusing to do homework, we simply want her to act like she's supposed to. We want her to stop throwing the toy. We want her to communicate respectfully. We want her to get her homework done. With a small child, achieving the RST goal, cooperation, might involve getting him to hold your hand as he crosses the street, or helping him put down the bottle of olive oil he's swinging like a baseball bat in aisle 4 at the grocery store. For an older child, it might mean problem solving with him to do his chores in a more timely fashion, or discussing how his sister might feel about the phrase fat-butted lonely girl. You'll hear us say it repeatedly throughout the book: every child is different, and no parenting approach or strategy will work every time. But the most obvious goal in all of these situations is to elicit cooperation and to help a child behave in ways that are acceptable, like using kind words, or putting dirty clothes in the hamper, and avoid behaviors that aren't, like hitting, or touching the gum someone left under the table at the library. This is the short-term goal of discipline. For many people, that's the only goal, gaining immediate cooperation. They want their kids to stop doing something they shouldn't be doing or begin doing something they should be doing. That's why we so often hear parents use phrases like "stop it now," and the timeless "because I said so." But really, we want more than mere cooperation, don't we? Of course we want to prevent the breakfast spoon from becoming a weapon. Of course we want to promote kind and respectful actions, and reduce the insults and belligerence. But there's a second goal that's just as important, and whereas getting cooperation is the short-term objective, this second goal is more long-term. It focuses on instructing our children in ways that develop skills and the capacity to resiliently handle challenging situations, frustrations, and emotional storms that might make them lose control. These are the internal skills that can be generalized beyond the immediate behavior in the moment and then used not only now, but later in a variety of situations. This internal, second major goal of discipline is about helping them develop self-control and a moral compass, so that even when authority figures aren't around, they are thoughtful and conscientious. It's about helping them grow up and become kind and responsible people who can enjoy successful relationships and meaningful lives. We call this a whole brain approach to discipline because, as we'll explain, when we use the whole of our own brain as parents, we can focus on both the immediate external teachings and the long-term internal lessons. And when our children receive this form of intentional teaching, they, too, come to use their whole brains. Over the generations, countless theories have cropped up about how to help our children grow up right. There was the spare the rod and spoil the child school, and its opposite, the free to be you and me school. But in the last 20 years or so, during what's been called the decade of the brain and the years that have followed, scientists have discovered an immense amount of information about the way the brain works, and it has plenty to tell us about loving, respectful, consistent, effective discipline. We now know that the way to help a child develop optimally is to help create connections in her whole brain that develop skills that lead to better relationships, better mental health, and more meaningful lives. You could call it brain sculpting, or brain nourishing, or brain building. Whatever phrase you prefer, the point is crucial and thrilling. As a result of the words we use and the actions we take, children's brains will actually change, and be built, as they undergo new experiences. E-active discipline means that we're not only stopping a bad behavior or promoting a good one, but also teaching skills and nurturing the connections in our children's brains that will help them make better decisions and handle themselves well in the future. Automatically. Because that's how their brains will have been wired. We're helping them understand what it means to manage their emotions, to control their own impulses, to consider others' feelings, to think about consequences, to make thoughtful decisions, and much more. We're helping them develop their brains and become people who are better friends, better siblings, better sons and daughters, and better human beings. Then, one day, better parents themselves. As a huge bonus, the more we help build our kids' brains, the less we have to struggle to achieve the short-term goal of gaining cooperation. Encouraging cooperation and building the brain, these are the dual goals, the external and the internal, that guide a loving, active, whole brain approach to discipline. It's parenting with the brain in mind. Accomplishing our goals, saying no to the behavior, but yes to the child. How do parents typically accomplish their discipline goals? Most commonly, through threats and punishment. Kids misbehave, and the immediate parental reaction is to OER consequences with both guns blazing. Kids act, parents react, then kids react. Rinse, lather, repeat. And for many parents, probably for most parents, consequences, along with a healthy dose of yelling, are pretty much the primary go-to discipline strategy: timeouts, spanking, taking away a privilege, grounding, and on and on. No wonder there's so much drama. But as we'll explain, it's possible to discipline in a way that actually removes many of the reasons we give consequences in the RST place. To take it even further, consequences and punitive reactions are actually often counterproductive, not only in terms of building brains, but even when it comes to getting kids to cooperate. Based on our personal and clinical experience, as well as the latest science about the developing brain, we can tell you that automatically giving consequences is not the best way to accomplish the goals of discipline. What is? That's the foundation of the no-drama discipline approach, and it comes down to one simple phrase: connect and redirect. Connect and redirect. Again, every child, like every parenting situation, is different. But one constant that's true in virtually every encounter is that the RST step in active discipline is to connect with our children emotionally. Our relationship with our kids should be central to everything we do. Whether we're playing with them, talking with them, laughing with them, or, yes, disciplining them, we want them to experience at a deep level the full force of our love in action, whether we're acknowledging an act of kindness or addressing a misbehavior. Connection means that we give our kids our attention, that we respect them enough to listen to them, that we value their contribution to problem solving, and that we communicate to them that we're on their side whether we like the way they're acting or not. When we discipline, we want to join with our kids in a deep way that demonstrates how much we love them. In fact, when our children are misbehaving, that's often when they most need connection with us. Disciplinary responses should change based on a child's age, temperament, and stage of development, along with the context of the situation. But the constant throughout the entire disciplinary interaction should be the clear communication of the deep connection between parent and child. Relationship trumps any one particular behavior. However, connection isn't the same thing as permissiveness. Connecting with our kids during discipline doesn't mean letting them do whatever they want. In fact, just the opposite. Part of truly loving our kids, and giving them what they need, means offering them clear and consistent boundaries, creating predictable structure in their lives, as well as having high expectations for them. Children need to understand the way the world works, what's permissible and what's not. A well-done understanding of rules and boundaries helps them achieve success in relationships and other areas of their lives. When they learn about structure in the safety of their home, they will be better able to flourish in outside environments, school, work, relationships where they'll face numerous expectations for appropriate behavior. Our children need repeated experiences that allow them to develop wiring in their brain that helps them delay gratification, contain urges to react aggressively toward others, and exibly deal with not getting their way. The absence of limits and boundaries is actually quite stressful, and stressed kids are more reactive. So when we say no and set limits for our children, we help them discover predictability and safety in an otherwise chaotic world. And we build brain connections that allow kids to handle difficulties well in the future. In other words, deep, empathic connection can and should be combined with clear and firm boundaries that create needed structure in children's lives. That's where redirect comes in. Once we've connected with our child and helped her calm herself so she can hear us and fully understand what we're saying, we can then redirect her toward more appropriate behavior and help her see a better way to handle herself. But keep in mind, redirection is rarely going to be successful while a child's emotions are running high. Consequences and lessons are ineffective as long as a child is upset and unable to hear the lessons you're offering. It's like trying to teach a dog to sit while he's kicking another dog. A kicking dog won't sit. But if you can help a child calm down, receptiveness will emerge and allow her to understand what you're trying to tell her, much more quickly than if you just punished or lectured her. That's what we explain when people ask about the demands of connecting with children. Someone might say, that sounds like a respectful and loving way to discipline, and I can see how it would help my kids in the long run, and even make discipline easier down the road. But come on! I've got a job. And other kids. And dinner to make, and piano and ballet and little league and 100 other things. I'm barely keeping my head above water as it is. How am I supposed to end the extra time necessary to connect and redirect when I discipline? We get it. We really do. Both of us work, our spouses work, and we're both committed parents. It's not easy. But what we've learned as we've practiced the principles and strategies we discuss in the following chapters is that no drama discipline isn't some sort of luxury available only to people with all kinds of extra time on their hands. We're not sure that kind of parent actually exists. It's not that the whole brain approach requires that you carve out tons of extra time to engage your kids in discussions about the right way to do things. In fact, no drama discipline is all about taking ordinary, in-the-moment parenting situations and using them as opportunities to reach your kids and teach them what's important. You might think that yelling "knock it oh," or quit whining, or giving an immediate timeout would be quicker, simpler, and more effective than connecting with a child's feelings. But as we'll soon explain, paying attention to your child's emotions will usually lead to greater calm and cooperation, and do so much more quickly, than will a dramatic parental outburst that escalates the emotions all around. And here's the best part. When we avoid bringing extra chaos and drama to disciplinary situations, in other words, when we combine clear and consistent limits with loving empathy, everyone wins. Why? For one thing, a no-drama, whole-brain approach makes life easier for both parents and kids. In high-stress moments, for instance, when your child threatens to throw the TV remote into the toilet mere seconds before the season nail of your beloved hospital drama, you can appeal to the higher, thinking part of her brain, rather than triggering the lower, more reactive part. We explain this strategy in detail in Chapter 3. As a result, you're going to be able to avoid most of the yelling and crying and anger that discipline so often causes, not to mention keeping the remote dry and getting you to your program long before the first ambulance rolls onto your screen. More important, connecting and redirecting will, to put it as simply as possible, help your kids become better human beings, both now and as they grow toward adulthood. It will build the internal skills they'll need throughout their lives. Not only will they move from a reactive state to a receptive place where they can actually learn, that's the external, cooperation part, but connections in their brain will be built as well. These connections will allow them to grow more and more into people who know how to control themselves, think about others, regulate their emotions, and make good choices. You'll be helping them build an internal compass they can learn to rely on. Rather than simply telling them what to do and demanding that they conform to your requests, you'll be giving them experiences that strengthen their executive functions and develop skills related to empathy, personal insight, and morality. That's the internal, brain-building part. The research is really clear on this point. Kids who achieve the best outcomes in life emotionally, relationally, and even educationally have parents who raise them with a high degree of connection and nurturing, while also communicating and maintaining clear limits and high expectations. Their parents remain consistent while still interacting with them in a way that communicates love, respect, and compassion. As a result, the kids are happier, do better in school, get into less trouble, and enjoy more meaningful relationships. You won't always be able to discipline in a way that both connects and redirects. We don't do it perfectly with our own kids, either. But the more we connect and redirect, the less drama we see when we respond to our kids' misbehavior. Even better, they learn more, they build better relationship and conflict resolution skills, and they enjoy an even stronger relationship with us as they grow and develop. About the book. What's involved in creating a discipline strategy that's high on relationship and low on drama? That's what the rest of the book will explain. Chapter 1, Rethinking Discipline, poses some questions about what discipline is, helping you identify and develop your own discipline approach with these no-drama strategies in mind. Chapter 2, Your Brain on Discipline, discusses the developing brain and its role in discipline. Chapter 3, From Tantrum to Tranquility, will focus on the connect aspect of discipline, emphasizing the importance of communicating that we love and embrace our children for who they are, even in the midst of a disciplinary moment. Chapter 4 stays with this theme, offering specific strategies and suggestions for connecting with kids so that they can calm down enough to really hear us and learn, thus making better decisions in both the short term and the long term. Then it's time to redirect, which is the focus of Chapter 5. The emphasis will be on helping you remember the one definition of discipline, to teach, 2 key principles, wait until your child is ready, and be consistent but not rigid, and 3 desired outcomes, insight, empathy, and repair. Chapter 6 then concentrates on specific redirection strategies you can use for achieving the immediate goal of eliciting cooperation in the moment, and for teaching kids about personal insight, relational empathy, and taking steps toward making good choices. The book's concluding chapter offers 4 messages of hope intended to help you take the pressure off yourself as you discipline. As we'll explain, we all mess up when we discipline. We're all human. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. But if we model how to deal with our mistakes and then repair the relationship afterward, even our less than perfect responses to misbehavior can be valuable and give kids opportunities to deal with difficult situations and therefore develop new skills. No drama discipline isn't about perfection. It's about personal connection and repairing ruptures when they inevitably occur. You'll see that we've included a further resources section at the back of the book. We hope this additional material will add to your experience of reading the book and help you implement the connect and redirect strategies in your own home. The RST document we call a refrigerator sheet. It contains the most essential concepts from the book, presented so you can easily remind yourself of the core no-drama principles and strategies. Feel free to copy this sheet and hang it on your refrigerator, tape it to the dashboard of your car, or post it anywhere else it might be helpful. Next you'll see a section called When a Parenting Expert Loses It, which tells stories of when we, Dan and Tina, have upped our lids and taken the low road in our own roles as parents, rather than disciplining from a no-drama, whole-brain approach. In sharing these stories with you, we simply want to acknowledge that none of us is perfect, and that all of us make mistakes with our kids. We hope you'll laugh along with us as you read, and not judge us too harshly. Next comes a note to our child's caregivers. These pages are just what you'd expect, a note you can give to the other people who take care of your children. Most of us rely on grandparents, babysitters, friends, and others to help us raise our kids. This note lays out a brief and simple list of the key no-drama principles. It's similar to the refrigerator sheet, but it's written for someone who has not read no-drama discipline. That way you don't have to ask your in-laws to buy and read the entire book, although nobody's stopping you from doing that if you want. After the note to caregivers, you'll see a list called 20 Discipline Mistakes Even Great Parents Make. This is one more set of reminders to help you think through the principles and issues we raise in the coming chapters. The book then closes with an excerpt from our earlier book, The Whole Brain Child. By reading through this excerpt, you can get a better idea of what we mean when we talk about parenting from a whole brain perspective. It's not necessary that you read this excerpt to understand what we present here, but it's there if you'd like to go deeper into these ideas and learn other concepts and strategies for building your children's brains and leading them toward health, happiness, and resilience. Our overall goal in this book is to deliver a message of hope that will transform how people understand and practice discipline. One of the typically least pleasant parts of working with children, discipline can actually be one of the most meaningful, and it doesn't have to be full of constant drama and reactivity for both you and your child. Children's misbehavior really can be transformed into better connections both in your relationship and within your child's brain. Disciplining from a whole brain perspective will allow you to completely shift the way you think about your interactions with your children when they misbehave, and recognize those moments as opportunities to build skills that will help them now and into adulthood, not to mention making life easier and more enjoyable for everyone in the family. Chapter 1. Rethinking Discipline. Here are some actual statements we've heard from parents we've worked with. Do any of them resonate with you? Do these comments sound familiar? So many parents feel